I don't even know where to start.
Um,
So, we live across the street from each other. This is Addie. I'm obviously Nia. And as you guys know, about a year ago, I was dealing with some paranormal activity in my house. And even though I feel a little bit better about it, I feel like some things have not improved. And recently, somebody came over to our house and was like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, this guy across the street was shot and killed in the front yard." And I was like, "Huh, that might be why I feel some bad vibes." So I actually approached her on the street and was like, "Hey, did you know that somebody was murdered in your yard?" And I feel like immediately you were like, like it seemed like something clicked for you.
yeah, it kind of made all sense, like a full circle moment.
Yeah, yeah. So, tell me a little bit about your house.
So we moved in when I was 4 years old, so roughly 15 years ago. Um, my parents didn't get along, so it was always kind of bad energy in the house. And then when I was in the fourth grade, my mom ended up moving away, and the energy was still bad.
Mhm.
Um, I've had a lot of experiences in that house, whether it just be my imagination, as my
Mhm.
dad likes to put it, or if it's something more serious.
Are you feeling nervous?
A little bit,
Don't be nervous.
just a tad.
Don't be it's been a very weird day for us. We were talking earlier, like, since we've started talking about this, it kind of brings up a lot of feelings, and we almost feel like these energies hear us. So, you know what? Do you mind if I say a prayer then first
Yeah.
before we start? Okay. Dear God, we ask that you please put a big white light shield around us, protect us and keep us safe, and always remind us that we have power over these beings. Thank you, God, for protecting us. Thank you for this safe space. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we're good. Those things can't do shit to us, okay, girl? All right, but tell your story. Tell your story.
um, the first instance it happened, I've always been a little bit more aware than my sister. I used to have really weird dreams a lot of the times. But the first major thing that happened was I had moved out of my room because I didn't like sleeping in there. I like sleeping on the couch in front of the AC unit.
Mhm.
And the way I was laying, I was facing towards my front door.
Mhm.
So I was laying that way. And in my dream, or I don't know if it was real, I don't know what it was, but there was this massive black figure standing in my hallway between, it was like in my living room, looking, its body facing the hallway, but looking at me.
Mhm.
And it had this creepy, big white smile. Um, and it just looked at me. And, 7-year-old me, I was like, get the fuck out of my
Yeah.
house. And then I woke up looking at the same exact spot that
Mm.
I had dreamt of. Um, there's been other dreams that I've had when I was younger that were reoccurring. Like
Mm.
there was one where an owl was watching me.
Stop. You know why that's so weird? Literally 3 days ago, I had a dream about an owl, and, like, something about it was, like, sinister.
Right?
And that was
It's
a
like
couple days before all
terrifying.
this. Yeah.
So it's very specific dream that still pops up sometimes to this day. I will be sitting on my couch before my dad renovated the house, when my mom still lived there. And there would be the TV stand and then an owl on like an upper part of the TV stand above the TV, looking at me, and it has red glowing eyes. And I would hide under this very specific blanket. And it was a blanket that my mom had given to me. And it was yellow and just massive and fluffy, and it was great. So, like in the dream, I just put the blanket over my head and then I'd peek, and the owl would still be looking right at me.
Mhm.
And that'll happen a couple times, maybe a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Not very often, not often enough where I think about it every day,
Yeah.
but often enough where, like, if I
It
have
sticks
it,
with you. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. You're familiar with the energy.
right. And creepy shit has always happened in my house. Um, I like to sleep with a lot of air blowing on me because I get hot. So I used to have this black standing fan, and I would always have it like this close to my face when I
Mhm.
was sleeping. And before I got rid of it would move around the room and unplug itself. Um, and no matter what I did, if I locked the door would still be locked in the morning, but the fan would still be moved around.
Wow. So like you'd fall asleep with it next to you plugged in and it's on, but then maybe you wake up and it's over by the door unplugged.
Yeah.
And you had the door locked, so it wasn't your parents, it
No.
wasn't your sister, so that's just weird. Yeah.
And back to the dreams. There's only one time that I've ever had this dream. I don't know if I was half awake, if I was asleep, but I dreamt of someone walking in my room, looking through my drawers, looking back at me, and then walking out. And I questioned my sister. I was like, "Were you in my room last night?" I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was like, "Were you in my room
You're
last
taking
night?"
my clothes.
Right, like, "You're taking my socks
Yeah.
or something." It was my sock drawer.
Mm.
And I'm like, "You're taking my clothes." And she's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. You're going crazy." And I'm like, "No, I saw somebody. Somebody was in my room." And then I kind of let it go. That was maybe 2 years ago. But the house is just
But when you woke up, like, were there any drawers open or did
No,
anything?
I don't think so. It was just I don't know.
And then you've also mentioned to me that when you're in your house, you feel this kind of anxiety or even anger that kind of comes out of nowhere.
Oh yeah. Um, I would just get really angry out of nowhere, really frustrated with things, and then sometimes either whether it be before or after the anger happens, it'll feel like someone's watching me. Like someone is looking at me
But
and
see,
watching what I do.
that's what's interesting too with the anger was that's what I was experiencing here when I was feeling this like oppressive being was I would just burst out in anger, literally unprovoked. And that's not normal for me. Even if we had friends over, the friends would snap out of nowhere and like storm out. Like it was very strange, this like anger, which makes sense, you know, if we're thinking that this is a ghost. You know, these are human beings with unfinished business and they're probably pissed off with how they passed, especially if you saw the videos I did with my ghost Everett. And then if you know this spirit is the guy who we found out actually was shot and killed in the front yard, if it is him, I'm sure he's very upset.
Probably.
Especially since right before he died he caught his wife cheating on him.
Right.
You know, he's got some real unfinished business, and probably since you're a woman he's also probably like, oh, these females, right? So there's that tension. Are there any more like really insane times where you saw him? And you said you gave him a name, right? What do you call him?
I call him Garrett. That's Garrett. He just seems like, well, before I was scared of him. When everything first started happening, when that first dream happened, I was terrified.
Of course.
And then shit kept happening. My door would keep moving, like things on my desk would be moved around, and I'd be like, "This is just some white dude that likes to fuck around with people." Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
that
no,
likes
you're
to
good.
mess around with people. Like he just wants to mess around,
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel like human to me. It feels like something young, something that hasn't seen light before, that's just messing around with someone that's vulnerable.
You know what's interesting? Do you think it's possible that there's two different things at your house?
Yeah, because sometimes it's playful, and then again that creepy anxiety, someone's watching me thing. And it's weird because it's almost like they know who I am, and I'll be like, "Go away, like stop
Well,
following
you've lived
me."
in that house so long. I mean, they kind of do have a relationship with you.
Right.
But I wonder if it's two different beings because on the one hand, you're describing this very kind of sinister, creepy energy, but then you said there's kind of like the playful, kind of innocent.
Right.
So I almost okay. So I can't get too specific because this involves real life people, but I know more or less for a fact that there's two people near us that practice witchcraft, and it's not the good kind. So I wonder if the more oppressive energy comes from them or what they may be doing, or if it's the guy who died or the guy who died here. And we're also on top of a battlefield. So that's just another kind of dark energy. But with the childlike energy, if that's the actual ghost or if that's another ghost, because actually today, one of my friends, she does readings, psychic readings, and she's like, and I asked her about this, she's like, you know, I feel like there's like a little girl.
That's funny because at my girlfriend's house, there's always something watching behind the stairs. Like I was telling you about this yesterday. We used to see like a little girl peeking her head out, and like it makes me wonder if like something is following me.
Yeah, which makes sense. They can attach themselves to you and follow you. So that's weird that my friend said it, And yeah, I'm remembering you told me that. So I feel like we have to figure out though if the more sinister energy is the guy who died back in the 90s or if it's people around us doing weird magic. So that's something we have to figure out. And it's also very hard to get records of things that have happened in this area for a lot of different reasons. I'm trying to do so much research.
Yeah.
And then also, if you go to like the police station, you're like, hey, can I see some police reports? They're going to have a lot of questions.
Right.
And I don't really want to be like, hey, there's probably a ghost, give me some records.
But at the same time, the people who we can't mention by name know a lot about what has happened. Like, they hit us with some crazy information yesterday about a shooting where a wife shot her husband, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just really off and they know a lot.
It was like this person was saying just enough, but not the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's one of the people that I do believe is doing some interesting things.
Right.
Would you mind telling us about what you found underneath your deck?
Oh yeah. So there's
And this
been
is
a
crazy.
couple of things. Not under the deck, but under like a patio that's like coming off from like the stairs of my deck. We got bricks there, and when I was younger, I used to dig around and lift up bricks trying to look for worms. I don't know why. I try to look for worms, and at one point, I found little vials, maybe like 2 or 3 inches big, and they had wax sealed on them. I don't know if it was black or if it was white, but it was just dirty, but it looked black. It looked like a black wax. And there was nothing I could see in the bottle. Like the bottle was pitch black, almost like the inside had been charred.
Mm.
So it's just like, I didn't really know what it was because I wasn't really into all that yet.
Mhm.
I did study Wiccan culture and witchcraft when I was in high school. So I know what it is now, but I just threw them away. I was just like, ew, gross.
Yeah.
And then underneath my deck, I would find strange objects like a toddler's flip flop that I had never seen in my life. I have no pictures of it. Like when me and my parents used to go to the beach, there's no pictures of me in these flip flops. And to my knowledge, the people that lived there before us didn't have any kids. It was just a Latino couple. So it's just really weird things, and that brings me back to the little girl.
Oh my god, I have chills. There's something to do with the little girl. Especially if my friend who like also is psychic said that all the way from freaking England. And she was
Right.
like, and I was talking to her today, she was like, don't forget the little girl. Like there's something there. That's so weird, the flip flop, putting that together.
I'm just putting it together.
But for the people too who don't understand, the jars that she's describing are very clearly spell jars. A lot of times you'll have a jar full of, I don't know, herbs or bones, even depends on what you're doing. And you would light a candle, let it burn down, the wax would seal it. And a lot of witches also bury it in the earth for various reasons. Black though, like could be protection or it could be something sinister, so we don't really know for sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you said a Latino couple lived there though, because pretty much all the Latino people I know are like a little witchy.
Right. I mean, there's definitely cultural
Mhm.
things that happen, like smudging is one of the things that are
Yeah.
seen as witchcraft.
Mhm.
But I smudge my house. I smudge it with sage that I get from my aunt, who is a part of a tribe. So I get white sage
Mm.
straight from the source. I get Palo Santo, which is a bark, and it's used to not cleanse all energy, but cleanse negative energy and bring in positive energy.
Yep, from the I think it's called the Palo Santo tree, like the
Yeah.
holy tree. But yeah, that's good. The only thing though is when it comes to like spirits, if you're using sage or Palo Santo, it helps, but if you want to like get rid of a ghost, you almost have to like hotbox your house. Like it has to be
Right.
an insane amount. So I'm sure you're probably like getting rid of it and then it gets pissed off and comes back, you know?
Most likely, but I stopped for
Mhm.
like the past couple years just because life's gotten busy, and
Yeah.
there's only been a few instances. My door will sometimes slam on its own. Sometimes it'll just like creak open a little bit,
Mhm.
like they're just kind of peeking in, and then it'll close really fast.
Mhm.
Not anything that a draft could do,
Mhm.
and it's too consistent to be a draft. Like drafts are like in and out, and you don't really know.
So I want to write down little girl so we don't overlook that detail. sandal. The jars. There's witches around. And then this kind of dark energy / owl. Oh God. I just hope we're not dealing with demons here. But I feel like we're not, because I think it would be a lot more sinister than what it is.
Right.
But I've had such weird experiences in my house. There's actually one story I haven't really told anyone. And there was one night, it was actually Halloween night. I'm not, like, it sounds like I'm making this up. I wish I was making it up. It was Halloween night. I was sleeping downstairs in my room by myself. Chris had fallen asleep on the couch. And I swear to God, it was 3 a.m. Of
Mhm.
course it freaking was 3 a.m. Halloween night. And I hear growling in my room, which at first I thought it might be the dogs. And I was kind of just like, shut up. And I try to go to sleep. And then it was like, but when I say growling, it was like, "Arr," like really like
Right.
a scary. And it sounded like it was coming from this other corner of the room. And so I turned on my flashlight on my phone. I still hear the growling, but I don't see anything in the corner. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe my dogs are under the bed or something. So I look under the bed. I look, none of my dogs are even downstairs. In this corner of my room, there's a like getting pissed. So I just went like, in the name of God, get the fuck out of here. Like, I will send you to hell, you mother effer. You know, like I was like,
Right.
get the hell. I was like praying and shit. And it did eventually go away, but that really freaked me out. I mean, obviously.
It's funny you say that because, as we talked about yesterday, your room is where all of the creepy stuff happened with my aunt and uncle who used to live here.
Okay, guys. So this is where it gets interesting. I mean, the whole thing's interesting, but so she's lived here long before I did. She knew the family that lived here before me. And so listen to what she says about my house.
So, in Nia's room is where my aunt and uncle, I call them, they're really close friends of my family, so they're like an aunt and uncle to me. They used to stay down there. Um, my aunt, she didn't believe that anything was going on. Me and my cousin tried to tell her. We were like, Auntie, there's something going on.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have a ghost or something. But we were kids. She didn't believe us.
Yeah, nobody listens to kids.
No, but honestly, you should always listen to the kid. I mean, up until you get to a certain age, you kind of had that sixth sense.
Yeah, that connection. Yeah.
But anyways, she was dead asleep. Like she'd been asleep for hours, and she woke up with her foot completely dislocated from her ankle to the point where her foot should have been like this. It was like that, all the way to the
Oh,
side.
Lord.
And there was nothing that could explain it.
Yeah,
There
that's
was
not a normal sleep injury.
there
You're
was no
not
one in the
waking up
house.
with dislocations.
Yeah, and my uncle had to pop it back into place. And then he had to drive her to the hospital. And after that, she had sleep paralysis. And the way she describes it is someone was sitting on her chest. And she could not move. She could not wake up my uncle. She could not do anything but sit there and look up. But she didn't see anything.
Mhm.
But something was there.
Yeah.
So, the room that's across from yours as well is where, no, not the room across.
The room down the hallway from mine?
Yes. The room down the hallway from yours, there used to be a really big water bed in there. That's where they had all the guests stay.
The guest stayed in the waterbed? That's
Mhm.
gangster.
We used to mess around in the water bed so bad. They used to get so mad at us. But that's where all the guests stayed, and a friend of my aunt and uncle, her name shall be left unknown. She had stayed with them for a little bit, and you know how the TV kind of goes to like that white static
Mhm.
when you press the wrong button or you go into the wrong HDMI, whatever. She had woken up to the TV doing that, and just going off. And she was looking around for a remote in the bed, thinking she rolled over it. Um, but the remote was all the way by the TV.
Hell no.
Yeah, it was all the way over there, and it was just creepy.
Mhm.
Like, and this whole street is just creepy.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying, y'all. It's not just my house, your house. It's this whole
everywhere.
street.
Like,
I mean, really the whole town.
yeah, it's
But
Civil
there's
War town.
Civil War, but like there's certain areas I feel like are worse though.
Right.
And I think that since we already have this bad war energy, and then there's actually people fighting again, getting, or God have you freaking witchcraft. I mean, if anybody's going to be working with spirits, it's going to be here. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's just all these things compound and come together. But it's so crazy that, so the dislocation happened in my bedroom. And this is where I heard a growling entity. We've had a lot of weird stuff happen in the bedroom. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm being serious though, especially like Chris especially has weird dreams, or like when I first was with him, like he would like do really weird things in his sleep that weren't normal. And I have a long history of these types of paranormal experiences, and for whatever reason it just happens that way for me. So I knew immediately there's something affecting him while he's sleeping. And even you talk about the dreams. Yes, dreams can be like subconscious, whatever, but when you're going to sleep, you don't have so much resistance to like these other things. So let's say you don't believe in ghosts and you have a spooky dream because you don't have that resistance of, oh, this isn't real.
Right.
And other beings can access you in the dream state. It's kind of like if you dream about like your dead relative, right? Like they can actually be visiting you in a dream. And it's weird, the owl thing is really freaking me out because that dream disturbed me. And I've never had any issues with like owls or like
Right.
So it's very weird, especially because I do this spiritual work, just the way it's all lining up. I've had these really big things happen to me the past couple of days leading up to this. And then even the growling story I was telling you guys, before this, I was blow drying my hair, and in my mind, I was like, what if there's something like demonic in nature about this? And as soon as I thought that, my hair dryer like stopped working. And I tried to like turn it off, turn it on, unplug it, reset the outlet, and it like didn't work. And I just feel like the timing of that is too specific
Right.
for it to just be. And like I have like a nice hair dryer, like it's not just shitting the bed. It's just crazy. But and the room that she's talking about where the TV turned on, my stepdaughter stays in that room, and before I got rid of the ghost, there was one night she always sleeps with the door open and her TV on, which I don't really like leaving the TV on, but it's better than her crying all night. And I don't blame her. Like it was so creepy in here that like I really didn't blame her. So we leave the TV on, leave the door open, and one night, 3 a.m., I hear her start to choke, and then she like kind of screams and cries. So I run down the hallway. Her door was completely shut, and I swear to God, nobody shut her door. And I walk in, and her TV's turned completely off, and she's like choking in bed. And it was so weird because when I came in, I almost felt like whatever it was dispersed, you know? But it was just weird because even her TV doesn't shut off by itself. It like never ever does that. Like it'll just have a weird screen. It never shuts off. So something shut her door, turned the lights off, and was bothering her somehow. Um, it was really disturbing. And even though I feel like this thing is gone, there's just something I'm missing, and I feel like your house and this whole area with all these witches, something's got to happen, so we got to get to the bottom of it. But tell me more about your experiences in this house.
In this house, so we have, what's another story?
You were telling me something about remodeling.
Oh, yes. So the old owners of the house, my aunt and uncle, they had tore up the old wooden floor, especially in the kitchen. And there was linoleum underneath the floor, and in the middle there was a big red spot, like dried blood brown. And they went to ask the neighbor, who we
The
believe,
witch?
yeah, the witch.
The witch.
And she was like, the old owner before you was a redneck, and he used to slaughter deer in the house. And something about that didn't sit right with them.
But you know what? But I want to say, like, because you told me that yesterday, and I've been thinking about that. I've been around like hunting and stuff my whole life. Nobody's like skinning deer in their kitchen.
Right.
Nobody's like bleeding them out. Like you obviously do that outside.
Right. And my thing is like rednecks will be rednecks. But no redneck is gonna mess up their floor for some
No.
deer meat.
Yeah, no.
Like there's always going to be
Yeah.
a outside area
Yeah.
specifically designated for slaughtering
Yeah.
deer and making jerky and all that type of stuff. And then in that room, now that I'm in the house, it is the room that I'm looking at, the master bedroom. There, they ripped up the floor, and there was a pentagram underneath the floor in that room. Like even just sitting
In the
here,
master bedroom. You feel it, right?
it makes me want to like almost start crying. Like
I know.
it's
I know.
like this intense, just dark feeling.
Like, I'm a very, like, light being, like, I have, like, positive energy, so I feel like this stuff, it affects me, but at the same time, I feel like they're scared because they know that if they mess with me too much, I'm just gonna, like, banish them to, like, the farthest corner
Right.
of the world, but I know what you mean, and that room in particular, when I first was dealing with this entity, the ghost, I couldn't get him out. It was like no matter what I did, he was so tied, that I actually trapped him in that room.
Wow.
I did, and he could only be in that room, and I had no idea about the pentagram. So isn't that weird?
That is
How
no,
I was just like, let's keep him in this room where he belongs.
right.
And that room, it's crazy because that's a master bedroom. So you think that Chris and I would sleep there. We don't go in that room. We don't even do anything in there. And we didn't know about the pentagram. We didn't know anything. We sleep downstairs. It's not even a master bedroom. It's like a normal bedroom.
That used to be I have two cousins. So my male cousin and my female cousin. That was her room. And she never liked sleeping there.
Mm-hmm.
She always liked sleeping on the couch. And then my male cousin, he used to sleepwalk and grab dolls from that room and sometimes downstairs, in the room right up below us. And he would sit on the stairs and he would rock, and sometimes he'd walk out the house.
Oh, what?
And then he'd start crying, and then they'd come get him. And
So
bring him
she's
back.
saying that they had this collection of weird ass dolls. Excuse me, and this little boy would sleepwalk, grab a doll, and sit and rock back and forth on the stairs. Try and tell me that that's not creepy.
And that makes me think of the story you were telling me about, like the heat that you felt on the
Yeah.
stairs.
Yeah, the heat. There's this one area where this being, it was like on the stairs and even also right in front of kind of like this awkward, like where the stairs kind of meets the master bedroom that has the pentagram apparently and the living room. Right there is where I would feel like somebody would be standing on my shoulders and I'd feel hot. And then there was even a point where me and somebody else were here and we both felt a presence and we put our hand in front of us and it was like a burning hot spot just in that one area, which is very weird because a typical spirit would be cold.
Right.
And that's why I sometimes wonder if there's some type of demonic connection. But I feel like the only way that there would be something demonic involved would be because of whatever witch put the spell jars under there, put the pentagram on the floor. Why is there blood in the kitchen? And why are there witches living all around us?
Right.
And why are we having to deal with misfortune, dysfunction, and all these things? You know, I feel like we're almost like,
It almost feels like the properties themselves
yeah.
are cursed in some type of way.
And I think it's because of witchcraft.
I don't deny that. It's just there's been so many good processes as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So many
Mhm.
that it's just so hard to believe that there could be something so dark. But it's the whole street. Like we
Yeah.
were so scared as kids to even walk down the street in the middle of the night. Like we would go on our bikes and go as fast as we can, and even back then something felt like it was watching me.
Mhm.
And none of my other friends really felt it. And I don't know if I don't like saying I'm special, but I don't know if that's just because I feel a little bit
Mhm.
more. I've always been kind of,
Empath.
yeah, kind of like an empath. Like other people's emotions affect me really, really deeply.
Mhm.
And like presences anywhere I go affect
Mhm.
me
Yeah.
really, really deeply. So it's like even just sitting here looking at that room is affecting me right now.
And it's so creepy though because it's like the doors open and it's just
It's
like
just
looks so
black.
dark. Yeah, it looks so black in there. Here, hold this. It'll make you feel better. I brought it actually. I brought all these in case you wanted to hold something. That one's good for grounding and protection. This one's good for protection. This is like a courage warrior stone. These are kind of random. I just wanted to bring them. And this is kind of like intuition, protection. So if you need something. Because it is a lot. It is a lot. And you grew up here and it can be traumatizing, would you say?
It was. It definitely was. The wind is going insane. I don't know if you see
See,
that.
that's what I mean. See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. But no, but this whole day has been so weird because it was sunny earlier. And then the
Right.
closer we got to recording, it got crazy windy. It was raining. Like, I just feel like this is like divinely kind of inspired or like just happening for a reason. And you're right, there
Right.
are still a lot of good things and good energies. But the reason I'm focused on the negative is because I feel like it could be so much better.
Right. It could be. It definitely could be. Um,
And we shouldn't have to be in our homes and feel uncomfortable.
right. And we deserve to kind of be able to experience the light because the neighborhood, it's a beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here that come from all different backgrounds.
Mhm.
And there's just so much to enjoy. But with this negative presence, it's so hard.
It is. And I feel like whoever that owl is, I got guns. But no, it's so crazy. Like the blood on the floor, the pentagram, seeing that man. And you also told me stories about she would hang out here when she was younger and they'd sit out on the front porch. And so from my front porch, I can see directly into her backyard. Like I can see her like shed and like the fence. You said there was like a man who would like shake the fence.
Yeah, my cousin, he would go, "I've seen somebody shaking your fence," and I didn't believe him at first. I was like, "Oh, you're lying. You're a
Yeah, he's trying
liar."
to scare you or something.
Right? Because boys are boys when they're
Yeah.
that young. They'll do whatever,
Yeah.
and I was one of his only female friends, so of course he wanted to freak me out a little bit.
Mhm.
But he was so serious, and um, one night I was standing out there with him, and he had gone inside for like a drink or something. And the way my fence is set up is it's a very small section of the fence, and then you have the gate. And there was a man who was tall, dark figure. Like I couldn't tell if it was a real person or if it was my imagination or if it was part of a tree shadow. I'm sorry, I messed up the mic.
Oh, you're fine.
But he was sitting there with his hand on my fence and just like kind of rocking it back and forth, like almost like he was rocking with the wind,
Mhm.
but nothing that was really loud. And then I went to bed later that night and I heard the fence moving and the shed doors were slamming, and at one point I stepped outside. There was barely any wind, like not enough to do that much damage. Um, but a couple years later, the doors of the shed, at least one of them, ended up falling off out of
Mm.
nowhere.
So it's good that you even know that like it wasn't extremely windy because that's one thing too. I think obviously I believe in ghosts and all this stuff, but I feel like people think that if anything weird happens, I blame a ghost.
Right.
But it's like no, like we are logical. Like obviously, if it's windy outside, I'm gonna think it's the wind before I think it's a ghost.
Like what people don't understand is that people who believe in this type of stuff, it's like that's the last thing you want it to be.
Yeah.
So you'll reach for any other even slightly logical explanation,
Hmm.
like with the tree shadows and like whatever else I could have been thinking as a 8 or 9 year old.
Hmm.
Um, it was just extremely creepy.
Definitely, definitely. And by the way, if you hear noise, my dogs are like beating the crap out of this door. It's not a ghost or whatever.
No,
Um, but yeah, I just feel like
there was
there's
something moving in your kitchen though.
stop. What did you see?
Um, not much over the ledge, but there was just like a little boop.
Oh god.
And
And
that
that room is freaking out. Just stop looking over there.
it's like drawing me in almost.
No, I know. And I think, especially since we're talking about it and now you've made me aware of the pentagram, it's going to be weird. But I just never go in that room. But I'm determined to figure out what is going on. I'm determined to get rid of it and get some protection for all of us. And you know what? If there's any beings listening to me, like, be ready, bitch, because I'm bringing it.
Right.
So I'm not worried about shit. And actually, I wanted to give this to you. So this necklace is the medal of Saint Benedict, and he protects from entities or any
Oh.
type of spirit. And actually, like, if you ever feel scared or if you just want to wear it. I would even wear it to bed, like when you're sleeping. You'll notice a difference. I promise you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I used to wear it all the time in here, but lately I've been like, I'm fine. I'm good.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm glad you like
A little
it.
tangled.
It's all right.
A little untangled.
But yeah, definitely wear that. And again, even if you want to wear it while you're asleep, I think that's a great time, especially with the dreams.
Right.
And 3 a.m. comes, you never know. But
It's funny that you approached me at the time that you did, because that was like, I never really believed in God growing up. I grew up Baptist and we barely went to church. And my girlfriend, she's Catholic. So, like, literally the day that you approached me, I was like, I'm going to get baptized and I'm going to get all the sacraments. I'm going to do everything I need. It's like a 1-year course. Like, it starts at the beginning of school year. And it's just so funny how you happened to come into my life just as I was trying to reach God.
Oh my God! Praise the Lord. No.
There's too many coincidences.
I know, that's why I feel like this is so divinely fated. Well, congratulations for doing your thing. I'm not too big on church anymore, but I do believe in God. I love God, and God is going to be what gets this shit away from us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I do think that is crazy. That is really crazy. I love that. And you know what's even funnier too is, like, I feel like getting rid of this or getting some answers is also going to help your journey just be easier. And I think it's even
Right.
going to deepen your faith.
Right.
And what's even funnier too was today, literally out of nowhere, my friend from England sends me a reading. And then, like, I ended up getting a free, do you know what Reiki is?
No.
So basically it's like energy healing. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
But I got like a free healing session today that like made me cry. Like, I was like, oh, and I never cry. So this was like just the most insanely powerful day. I also saw somebody get arrested for pulling a gun on somebody today.
Which is funny because of how much gun violence has gone on around this area.
Which is crazy. I honestly never knew that that was even a thing that really happened.
Right. I mean, I didn't know about anybody dying at my house.
You guys, I literally just ran into her on the street and was like, hey, did you know somebody died here?
And it was just like, all right.
Nice to meet you.
My name's Addie. What's yours?
That's how most people end up meeting me, is usually something weird. But is there anything else you feel like is important? Because right after this, I'm going to really dive in and figure out what we need to do.
I think whatever happens, it's meant to happen. It's going to happen no matter what we try and do to speed it up or whatever entities try to do to slow it down. It's going to happen because God wills it. So whatever happens from this point on is just what it's going to be.
Amen. Amen. But yeah, so I'm going to get into figuring this out. But thank you so much for being open and doing this with me, because it is pretty weird.
It is really weird.
Like, this whole thing is weird. But I do appreciate it so much. Thank you. And I'm going to make sure that we do something about this. I've had enough of you punk ass ghost bitches.
For real. Like, y'all need to go on somewhere.
I know,
Go
like, we're
ahead and
trying to
go.
like have peace.
Right.
The witches are going to be a little bit of an issue, but
did you want to bring that up? How she kept getting to the tree and separating us?
Okay, I'll say a little bit about it.
Mhm.
Just okay, so this particular person, when we were talking about these stories, this person approached us and kept trying to separate us, like to prevent us from talking. And it was very obvious. Would you think it's pretty obvious?
It was pretty obvious.
It was very bizarre. Like, she kept trying to split us up. Like, she was literally asking her to like go over here with her, like walk her dog down the street. Like, Very weird.
Come see her 15 million cats.
And just the whole thing was weird, and she told stories that were like about spirits, but then she wouldn't tell like the whole story, and it was like very strange. And also, so there's this tree in my front yard and it has this burn mark on it, and I haven't lived here very long, so I just thought, oh, maybe at one point it was like on fire, like I don't know.
That tree has never caught fire, ever. I mean, the houses around us have, but that tree has always been perfect and healthy until all of this started happening.
I feel like I don't know. There's so much witchy stuff. It could have to do with that. I don't know. But even this person was like, when they were in the yard, they kept like gravitating towards the tree, which I thought was really weird.
All speculation.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say for sure, but like, yeah, it is
Allegedly.
for sure. Allegedly for sure. But yeah, I think we've covered everything. I do want to figure this out. But thank you again.
Of course. Thank you for
Alright.
having me.
Of course. All right, let's see if I can reach the phone from here. Bye.
Bye.